Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Practically Green podcast. I am your host, Eibhlin Fitzpatrick, and this is Anna Brown here with me today. This podcast is designed to help you to live more sustainably. Each week, we talk about a variety of simple and practical steps to help you live lightly. Um, we're very aware that nobody is perfect, but we are definitely not perfect ourselves. We don't expect you to be, but we hope that we can share some ideas that will make a difference. We truly believe that our future can be sustainable and beautiful and fragrant and tasty, and those are the kind of things that we love to talk about here. So you're very welcome along. Hello, Anna.
Hello, hi, and welcome to everyone. My name is Anna Brown. This episode's kind of come from me not being perfect and not being very happy with the amount of stuff that's going into my main bin and starting to ask questions and thinking maybe we can, with Evelyn's, all her connections and all her good information from the Rediscovery Centre, we can kind of figure out the answers to some. We actually may have some unanswered questions by the end of today, which is absolutely fine because we can go and
Mm-hmm.
look into them further. Maybe you guys will have answers for us. You can leave those in the comments. But yeah, we're focusing this week on looking at recycling, but plastics in particular, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling with that right now as to what to
Yeah.
do. So yeah.
Well, you're definitely not alone in struggling with it, Anna, because it is a minefield with what's going on with our recycling system. So I'm looking forward to having a rant about this one.
So should we get straight into it then?
Yeah,
Um,
sure. Yeah,
so
sounds good.
I
So
suppose, are there some things you want to say to start with then, Evelyn?
yeah, well, I was excited when we were talking about what we were going to talk about this week and we came up with recycling because um I hear it all the time about people not knowing what goes into what bins and what can be recycled, and I'm interested in that line of a business anyway because obviously I started off with the refill mill, and the whole idea with starting a shop like that was because I absolutely hate recycling. So I think people are really surprised by that. I'm not. I wanted to start it so that I didn't have as much recycling to have to deal with. So my answer to that was start a business to make life easier.
Well, it worked for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So yeah, so hit me with some questions, Anna. What
okay,
are we thinking?
so I suppose I'm in my kitchen. And obviously the best thing you can possibly do is avoid having the plastic in the first place, which is why the refill mill
Yeah.
started. But um and if I'm buying meat, I should probably be going to the butcher's with my own Tupperware boxes and having them put them in. But that isn't always, like, if I want to get free range chicken, no butchers that I know of in Mullingar carry free range chicken in the kind of portions that my son likes to eat. So I have to go to the
Mhm.
shop, and that's going to be in a plastic, kind of a rigid plastic container with kind of a plastic film on top. So,
Mhm.
you know, I've taken out the chicken, we've eaten it, everybody's very happy, full tummies, but now I have to deal with the film on top. And I used to think that you weren't supposed to put film into the recycling, but that's, I think, not the case anymore. The rigid
Mhm.
plastic I mean, a lot of times I'll use the rigid plastic bottoms for growing seeds in. So I get a couple of uses out of them before they go into the recycling. And maybe they actually go into the bin because I don't really want to be washing them to the level that, I think is suitable for the recycling bin. So there's quite a few questions in this. So let me stop
Yeah.
talking before I get to it. So maybe just you can take them one at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. So, um, the main thing is now the recycling system has changed in Ireland, so we are actually allowed to put all plastic into our recycling bin. So the tray at the bottom of that piece of that tray of meat and the film on top can all be put into the recycling bin. So, um, you can be pretty confident with any kind of plastic that you have that can go into the recycling bin. So it is better to separate them um, and not put them in together. So like that, just rip the film off and wash the two of them and put them into the
So it's
recycling.
important that I wash them.
It is important that you wash them. Yeah, yeah,
And then so this is really good. All plastic, once it's clean, can go into the
yeah,
recycling bin. That's fabulous news.
yeah.
But what happens to that plastic then? So is it all being, so that's kind of, I don't know if you can answer this, but is that all being recycled or is some of it going into incineration?
So I have been doing some digging, Anna. Sorry, I just realized I need to charge my laptop here. I've been doing some digging, and that is a tough question to answer. So, um, there's three things that happen with our recycling in Ireland. Okay, the first thing to know about is our recycling system is atrocious. I'm sorry to say it, atrocious may be too strong of a word, but it's not a good, effective system. Um, so we recycle a very small amount of our recyclables here in Ireland. Um, a lot of it gets exported, and then the rest of it will be incinerated. So those are the kind of three options that we have. So when I was looking this up, there's data. The best kind of data, the most recent, is from 2021. Is the last kind of where they've got, the EPA have put out figures on this. And um, what's happening in Ireland at the minute is um, I think we're the number one producers and users of plastic in Europe.
Mm.
So yay us for, for that.
Not
Uh,
yes.
not a
Let's
good
stop
start.
that.
Not a good start. Yeah, I know. We're number one in something, but it's not what you want it to be in. Um, so we're using a huge amount of plastic packaging here. And then our recycling systems are good systems that we have, but they're not strong enough to keep up with the demand. So we're overcrowding our systems, and that's why we're exporting so much of our recycling and our municipal waste. And there's all sorts of waste is being exported. Um, yeah, so our rubbish is going up, and our recycling rates that people are actually doing are is going down. So
Oh,
people are
right.
recycling less. Um, and that trend just keeps going like that. So we're going on opposite ends of it. So it is a real problem. So we definitely do want people to recycle, because if we don't recycle, it likely ends up in incineration anyway. So with the incineration process, I know it doesn't sound great. It's definitely not the most effective use or the best use for these things. We are just burning um, uh, our waste, which isn't great, but it is, at least we're harvesting energy from it.
Mhm.
So everything that we're exporting, basically, if we're exporting our plastic waste to go to another country to be incinerated, it's a huge amount of resources. It's a huge amount of waste. I mean, all of that plastic was originally fossil fuels, and then we're using fossil fuels to transport it somewhere else for it to be burnt. So that is something we could do more of in Ireland, recycle more. Um, so increase our recycling capabilities, but also incinerate more. So at least we can generate energy from the process. Right,
So,
being anyway coherent there.
no, that's good. I just, of course, I've got more questions, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
So I'm putting into my recycling bin a mix of metal. There's
Hmm.
aluminum cans, there's different kinds of plastic, there's paper. And how does that get separated? Or does it get separated? I mean, it has to be. If there's some plastic that can be, reused and some can't and has to be incinerated. Are they just
Yeah.
humans doing that? Or is there machines that can do it?
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
it's a mixture. So there are humans, there are people in the recycling centers definitely separating it, and that's one of the reasons that we want it to be clean, is because we want, like, decent working conditions for these people. We don't want them going around rummaging through like moldy
Chicken,
containers and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But it's also, there's loads of different machinery for it as well. I think they use things like magnets, they use things like air as well, like fans and stuff like that, to separate
So I guess the light stuff gets blown up.
like,
So yeah.
exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's different systems like that. Um yeah. So does that answer
Well,
that one? So
it kind of
there's
does, I suppose. I mean, I think about this a lot, which
Mhm.
is kind of weird, but I've got an engineering brain. So I suppose like with paper, if you make it all wet, the paper can kind of dissolve and turn into like papier mâché and can be used.
Yeah.
Um, but then, when I have those envelopes that have a little bit of plastic in the middle of them,
Hmm.
I used to put a little bit of plastic in the bin and put the rest of the envelope into the recycling.
Yeah.
But now I can put them in together, but I probably should still separate them because it's better if they're separate.
Yeah, so it does have to be separate. So if they're not separated, they won't recycle it, because if we're not doing it, then we don't like the capabilities of our recycling centers are already so stretched. There's no way that they're actually going to separate that by hand for us. So that's why we need to have it clean, dry, and loose. So clean because we don't want moldy recycled waste.
Yeah. It'll smell bad. It's not nice to work with. You're right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And if we're actually exporting our waste and it's not clean, when it arrives at the country that it's being exported to and they open up the containers and it's dirty, they'll actually send that back to us and we'll be
Oh,
fined for that. So it's really important for us actually to clean it in that way. Now, I'm not saying it has to be like sparkling clean, but definitely enough that that's not going to happen. It needs to be dry because of what you said about the paper and cardboard. If it's wet, those will be destroyed and it makes it harder for those to be recycled and also separated. And loose then as well, so that we can actually put the right things in the right
so
send them to the right places.
how does the loose part work? Like, how do I make so I basically don't fill my bin too full before I send it off for emptying? Is
No,
that
no, no. By loose, sorry, actually, what I by loose, what I mean is like that, taking the plastic film off the hard plastic. That's
all right?
loose.
Yeah.
It's not like you can squish things into your bin, no problem. But it's literally taking, if it's two different materials, separate them and put them
Ah,
in.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, that's
yeah,
good. That's quite helpful. And then, I was talking about using those plastic containers from the meat to grow seeds in, and I'm really not going to
yeah,
rewash those to put them in. I'm not going to put them in dirty, so they're good in my bin. Is that bad?
yeah. Yeah, if I mean, it's not Anna. I'm not obviously going to give out in any way, shape, or form, because I think the whole system is so frustrating. But yeah, though that they'll end up in landfill. Like
Yeah.
that's essentially
Or
what
incinerated,
or incinerated. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
which it might have done anyhow.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a chance when we're putting things into our recycling bin that it is going to be incinerated. If it's soft plastic, it will be incinerated. Um, that's what the systems have come in for. So soft plastic definitely will, and then sometimes they um put our black bin, so our municipal waste,
Yeah.
into um incineration sometimes. So it's landfill or incineration. Yeah.
Right. I think in Mullingar it's incineration. I think that's because our landfill site got covered up, and that's where we're trying to build the solar farm on. So, um, I don't think. I mean, that's what my impression when I was talking to somebody that is involved in the waste there. He said that's it was going to incineration. So, but that's a lot of stuff to have to
Okay.
burn. Which is kind of
Yeah.
sad.
It's a
Yeah.
lot. Would you like to know how much, Anna? Because I wrote it
Yes.
down.
Yes.
Um, so okay, this is still 2021, but okay, so packaging waste alone, it was 1.2 million tons of packaging waste that we produced in Ireland, and 320,000 tons of that was plastic. So yeah, it's a lot. So um only 28% of that was actually recycled. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So we do need to really up our game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, upping our game isn't recycling more. It's using less.
Right.
So
So let's
we
talk
need,
about that. So there's lots of
yeah,
things that it's kind of so if you're buying fruit and veg, you try and buy this that's not pre-packaged, and you try and use
yeah,
like they have those little reusable bags, little kind of mesh white bags in a lot of the shops that you can buy and then reuse over and over again. So
hmm,
that's a good way to avoid the fruit and veg packaging. But if you shop online like I do, you actually and if you want to get organic carrots, the only way to get them is in a plastic bag. You can't actually get them loose if you're doing
yeah,
an online
yeah,
shop. But you're doing an online shop to save resources and be low carbon and make your life easier. So it's tricky enough. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, if you go to the fruit and veg shop, you
It
can do it
is.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, in order to like shop sustainably, you definitely have to put in like a lot of work. And I totally understand that that isn't not everybody is able to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's there's time and money all at it add up in it, like, but there are like simple things like that that you can do. There's small changes that you can make in your shop. So um I know when you want to buy, that's really frustrating about the organic fruit and veg, that has to be wrapped in it doesn't have to be wrapped in plastic, it is wrapped in plastic. But things like I always say small things like buying your ketchup in glass bottles instead of squeezy bottles. Do you
Yeah.
know, things, really small things like that do add up. Or if you're buying something regularly, buy the larger amount. So things like cereal, if you get the bigger box of cereal, the amount of packaging that you are saving, it doesn't look like it, but we actually have a display of this in the Rediscovery Centre. Um, like for one box of cereal, you know, those like small little ones as well that you can get, the individual like serving size boxes,
Yeah.
the amount of packaging that goes into the equivalent between
Yeah.
those small bottles and
I bet it's
the bigger one.
huge.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
And I mean,
So
those little
buying,
ones aren't big enough to feed you anyhow. You'd need to eat two or three of them. So
yeah, definitely.
they're
Yeah,
kind of a
we got
waste of
good
time.
appetites around here. Yeah, so those things are like, you know, I think really important. And then reusing what we have as well. So Anna, you're a brilliant one for that, like with your seed trays. But I think in your house there's upcycled and reused all over the place. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, like the milk cartons would be, I'd be collecting them now because I've got a soap making course coming up. So that I'm collecting those so I can use them as the molds for soap. So they've been used twice and then
Yeah.
they end up probably in a bin, but at least they've gotten two uses out of it and I haven't. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's extending the life. Like instead of you actually going out and buying molds for your soap making courses, I mean, it's all things like that add up. But I do think like um we struggle with, I always say like consumers have so much power because we're choosing what we buy, and we're voting with our euros. So I think that's really important that we continue to do that. But businesses also need to be held accountable for what they're doing as well and encouraged to change.
And some shops have a
um
place where you can bring back your packaging to them.
yeah,
Is that a
yeah.
useful thing? Is that helpful? Is that good to be doing?
I mean, it's good in the sense that it's probably going to be recycled properly. Hopefully, if it's an ethical business, they will actually recycle it properly. But it's not really addressing the problem of reducing the packaging in the first place. The problem is we have so much unnecessary packaging.
Yeah.
So if businesses and restaurants and everything could actually take stock of their waste, it would be so much more beneficial for us as consumers, but also as a society, if we're looking to actually take climate action. There's a really great website that I came across. If there are any business owners or anyone like that listening, it's called Circulaire, like air circular like era. I think I don't know if I'm saying that right,
Got
but
it.
circular era. Maybe that's what
Okay.
it is.
So we'll
Um,
add that in the show notes.
circular era. I think that's what it is. Sorry.
Okay.
What did you say, Anna?
We'll add it in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll add to the show notes because I think I'm struggling here. But it's actually a site to help businesses to move towards more sustainable practices in terms of the circular economy. The circular economy is all about reusing what we already have, so that we're not taking more resources from the earth, um, specifically with packaging and systems, things like that. So that's a really nice one if anybody is looking to figure out where is waste being wasted in our supply line or in our production line or whatever, and how can we move towards more circular models. So that's a nice one.
Yeah, so but I suppose like a lot of our listeners are just, they're just people like ourselves that are trying to do the best they can and
Yeah.
live a reasonably convenient life at the same time. So what would be the best things that they could do when they're shopping? I suppose it is about shopping, isn't it? I mean, part of it's about eating. So, for me, I make a lot of things from scratch, which is obviously a very good help when it comes to like I'm not getting ready meals, I'm not getting prepackaged things.
Yeah.
Um, so even though I'm buying carts and plastic, I'm not buying pre-prepared whatever. I'm not buying carts as part of a ready meal. I'm buying them to make things from scratch. Um, But what can people do in the supermarket when they're shopping? Was they can bring the little reusable bags for the veg, and they can pick up the veg that's not
Mm,
packaged and put those in the bags. Um, and bread, I
yeah,
suppose, is the same. So you can buy bread that's not in plastic in the bakery
yeah,
that goes into paper
yeah,
bags, and that's a good way to bring it home. You're saying buy things that are in glass bottles rather than plastics. That's great. So that could
yeah,
be yogurt, that could be milk, that could be ketchup, that could be whatever, jars of
yeah,
olives and whatnot.
yeah.
Cans are good too. So if you're buying like tins of beans, that's good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Looking for the cans. It's really trying to avoid plastic as much as possible, buying the larger packs if you need them, not if you're going to waste the food in the end.
Yeah,
It's kind of counterproductive there, but if it is something that you're using regularly, um, and then I always say, shop the reduced section as well, because that is likely that's going to go to landfill. And also like don't be afraid to reuse the containers that you get in shopping centers or supermarkets or whatever as well. Like I always reuse the deli containers that they give me um at the salad counters. Just keep going back
so you bring
and
back deli
refilling the same
containers.
one.
You bring them
Yeah,
back,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
and
Yeah,
they'll take them
yeah,
from you and put
no
put a new
problem.
label on it. All right, that's
Yeah,
good to know. I didn't
yeah,
know that.
exactly. Yeah, so then like obviously the odd time you're going to get someone giving you a funny look, but usually what happens there is then we'd be like, that's a good idea. Or somebody, the next person in line might see you doing it and then think, oh, that's something that this is a service that this place actually offers. So maybe I'll just do that in future. Do you know, like you're kind of there's a knock-on effect if you're um making changes by actually doing things and leading by example as well. I think
Yeah.
that's.
So when you're going
Yeah.
to go get your groceries, you're actually preparing not just your bags, you're not just bringing,
Hmm.
but you're actually bringing lots of little containers with you so you can minimize what you have to use.
Yeah. Yeah. So like usually if you're shopping in the same place, you'll have that container, you'll buy it the first time or whatever, and then keep bringing that one back because then that's their, specific one that they know the weight of or whatever.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of places would like if you bring in your Chinese takeaway container and refill it
Yeah.
with them. Do you know it's different? But it just depends. And like if you're awkward about it, anywhere that has a salad bar, nobody notices the difference. Like the salad bars that you fill it up yourself. So
Of course. Yeah. Because
yeah,
they're not
that's
seeing
one
you
way.
doing it. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you can scale up that to whatever level you're comfortable with.
Hmm.
But I mean, like asking the deli is actually a really easy one because usually people are nice and asking for less packaging when you're getting things. Like some places, I absolutely can't stand it when somewhere um if you get a roll or something and they wrap it in the paper and then they wrap it in cling film afterwards. Do you ever see places doing that? It
Yeah.
drives me up the wall.
Yeah.
So I was
Or
like, please
foil.
don't do
Something. They wrap it in paper and then they'll have tin foil on top of it as well. So
Yeah, it's so unnecessary. But really, you're kind of when you call it out, you're like sparking change. I think
yeah.
you're creating uh you're showing that there's a problem there. I think,
And
and
I
I don't think you're
suppose
being.
we've actually gotten used to being able to see things we're buying because of the whole plastic transparency. We don't need to
Hmm.
see them, you know.
No, no, no.
That business of having, to have to be able to see the sandwich or see even the packages that are paper with like a little window in it, so you can see the black
Yeah,
beans. That's ridiculous, right? That should just be a label to say what it is, and then you believe it because you trust
exactly.
the
Yeah,
person who's selling it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there's so much talk of the circular economy, which is what we need to move towards. Um, that hopefully sooner rather than later we're going to see a lot more simple packaging. We're going to see a lot more reusable packaging, like stronger packaging that we can bring back. There's loads of great things. Like, do you ever see those um to go cups? Have you heard of
Yes.
that campaign?
Yeah,
Have we
yeah.
talked about this before? Oh
We
yeah,
haven't,
okay.
but
So that kind
I've been in places where I've bought one and I have it in my car now, so it's there whenever I need it.
yeah, yeah. So that's a really good idea because you're putting a monetary value on something, people are going to return it. That's
Yeah.
what you pay €2 for the cup, and then when you come back and get another cup of coffee It just
Yeah.
keeps you get your money back, or you return the cup and you get your €2 back, or you can just keep buying
Yeah.
the coffee and
You
not
can
having to pay for
switch.
the
You
cup
can
once
switch
you
for
get
a
it
new
back,
one.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
good.
So
And they're actually pretty good quality and nice to drink out of as well.
yeah. And that company have takeaway containers as well. So can you imagine if takeaways all over the place started using those where you return your containers from your takeaway as well? Like it would be a huge amount of waste. So probably not in your house. I don't know how much takeaway you're getting at it, but
Very little, very little.
like a lot of people, yeah. Do you know, if we have to, we're living in a modern world, we have modern lifestyles.
Hmm.
So we definitely need to adapt to it. I think.
So just to add into that, like there's a thing called tiffin boxes. I don't know if you're familiar with this in India, and I think they've actually started it in the UK as well, but particular kind of a reusable box. So there's people who deliver lunches to people all over cities in India with these boxes, and then you basically trade it for the next one. So that's happening, and that has happened. It happened before there was plastic, and it's happening still. They're usually metal of some kind, stainless steel, I suppose. Um, I think that has actually started recently in London that people are getting them. So people are getting used to that idea, and there is a notion, and I guess probably things stay hotter in them, and they're not going to give you
Mm,
microplastics either, um, which will come to a different time. I think we have to spend a whole episode on microplastics, I think, and
yeah, I
how to
think
avoid
so.
them. But yeah, so there are things like that happening. So it's not impossible that this can be part of an offering, a product offering from people, and that the consumers actually want to go along with it. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's the way forward. I think
yeah.
it's the way forward for sure. Yeah. If we want our plastic packaging rates to go down, then that's the kind of stuff that we need to embrace. And I think people do want it. I know you and I are really obviously advocates for climate action, but I think even like Joe soaps, people that
Yeah.
aren't particularly interested in climate action still hate the amount of plastic packaging that we're going through because it's annoying. Above everything, as well, it's like really frustrating to have to get rid of so much waste and like not being in charge of how much of it that you're producing. So
And it's bad
yeah.
because it doesn't biodegrade. So
Hmm.
that plastic packaging goes to live in landfill forever and ever and ever, or for at least
Yeah.
200 years, I don't know how long it
Yeah.
lives. But that means we just basically have these piles of stuff. If we're not incinerating it, there's just these piles of stuff that won't go away, that can't be, you
Hmm.
can't have farmland on it, you can't have cattle, you can't have trees, you can't have sheep. It's just there. And we will run out eventually as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can't just keep digging holes in the ground and filling it with our rubbish and then covering it up, la da da da, moving
yeah,
on to the
but
next
as
one.
well as that, I mean, the amount of fossil fuel we have available to us is reducing. Like we don't have that much, so we
Yeah.
have to find alternatives. Just a practical reason of there won't be any way to make plastics, but there's plastics made out of corn and stuff that I'm hearing about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bioplastics. So we've got loads of different types of ones. Sometimes they come from sugarcane. I think one of the really popular ones is wheat bioplastic. Um, and essentially that is, instead of using oil to make those plastics, they're using wheat, which is great because wheat is a renewable resource. We can grow wheat. Um, but there's things like this. So there's a company called BioBuddy, um, and you can buy it's like a type of Lego Duplo. I think that's the one that like younger kids use, and BioBuddy has actually made their toys out of wheat plastic, and it looks like plastic, it feels like plastic, it sounds like plastic, it's hard like plastic, but it's not made with oil, it's made with wheat instead, which is really, really great. And it can be composted at the end of its life. So, not in our home compost bins, but you can put it into the brown bin.
Right.
So,
So
yeah,
so if
that
there's a
that
hot
so
if it's a
that's
hot composting
an
system,
alternative.
So
Yeah,
it'll biodegrade
exactly.
if there's heat applied to it, but not the kind of heat that we get in our
Yeah,
normal compost bins. So I
yeah,
suppose like it would be bad if it
absolutely.
was compostable because the kids might end up chewing on it and then it would be composted in their mouths.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so there does need to be some strength in it. But yeah, so bioplastics are a better alternative, but they're also not the solution. We can't just start all of a sudden replacing all of our fossil fuel plastic with
I
bioplastic
mean, the
because
problem is
we're
single
still
use, isn't
producing
it?
too much of it.
The problem is single
Yeah,
use.
exactly. Yeah, it
I think
needs
the
to be
single
reused.
use thing is dodgy.
Exactly. Single use needs to. Yeah, yeah. So that's definitely we just need to move away from single use and focus on reusables. It's great that we have like nice alternatives like this, but I think that they're, progressive and really important for us to have them. Um, but that's not the solution to, that's not the end goal is to completely replace all of the plastic that we're already using with a different type of
So the
compostable
disposable
plastic. So
mentality is what we have to get rid of, really, is to think about how we
for sure.
I suppose there's
Yeah.
a few places where single use kind of makes sense though, like toilet paper and tissues.
Yeah, yeah. Although handkerchiefs, we don't.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm not. And I know like there's some hardcore climate activists that use reusable toilet paper. I'm not there.
yeah, yeah. We
I'm
might
gonna
have we
stick
might have
with
a
my
different. We might talk about that the whole area of toilets and stuff a different time. I think that's something worth
yeah.
a whole episode about that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, there's loads to talk about. I hope we haven't been like super negative in that. I don't think we have really. It's really practical what we're talking about. I think it's
Yeah.
good to know what's happening in our country and what systems we have and um yeah, I hope that what people take away from this is please do keep recycling. Um but it's not the answer. Like it's not the be all and end all.
If you can
Recycle and
avoid
recycle
buying
properly, but
things, if you can avoid buying plastic, do.
yeah,
I think is the
for
message.
sure.
Yeah.
And to be creative with reusing and things like that.
Yeah. Good. So
Yeah.
we go on to the experiences, not stuff then.
Hmm.
And so keeping with the theme,
Yeah.
we're talking about upcycling events. So places where you might actually take things that would normally get thrown out or put into landfill and find ways to reuse them. So we have a local shop called Handmade Design that do great recycling
Yeah.
events. So they're good at recycling furniture. And actually, sometime in the middle of August, we're going to have a beautiful furniture shop, a used furniture shop. So Mr. DePaul is opening a big new furniture shop, which I'm very excited about. My house is full of furniture. I have no room for any new furniture, but I just love going to those places and looking at things and thinking, how could this be repurposed and be gorgeous? So I have to do a clear out first,
Yeah.
though. So but yeah, so Happy Design is a good place to check out if you wanted to see where you might go to learn techniques and to have choices of beautiful paints and to have really a nice time, have to have fun with the upcycling. And she's got lots of products there that are upcycled as well. So
Yeah.
it's really good to see what's going on there. Then the next one on our list is Rediscovery
Yeah,
Center. So
Claire.
you might talk about that, Evelyn.
Yeah, so the Rediscovery Centre is where I'm currently working, and I am just mad about it. It's the National Centre for the Circular Economy, and it does the very basis of what we do there is basically encourage people to reuse what they already have, and repair is a huge part of that. And we run regular repair cafes. So there's one coming up in August. I think it's the 21st of August. Where you can bring something that's broken and come and find some experts there that will help you fix it or give you recommendations on how you can fix it. So it's, a really nice way to um repair something that you have that you love
So
and want to.
like your button's gone off your shirt, or the hem is
Yeah.
gone on your dress, or your bicycle
Yes,
is not going right, or
exactly.
your phone or your
Yeah. The leg of the
technology.
chair fell off.
Yeah,
I don't think technology is accounted in it. No, no, that's a tricky one with repair cafes.
yeah.
But I should double check with them whether they do take technology, but I'm 90% sure they don't. Um, a huge thing with repairing technology is actually insurance. So a lot of repair cafes won't actually touch technology,
Like
which is a
anything
real
with
shame.
electricity in it because somebody might get electrocuted later or
Mhm.
something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, there was people who repaired televisions in Mullingar back in the 70s. I remember them.
Yeah.
And Ruth Illingworth's father, in fact, was a television repair guy. But
Really?
yeah, yeah, he was, he was like, there was techie guys who did that kind of thing. And there's still those kind of techie guys, but I think the
Yeah,
companies who sell technology don't like you. They want you to throw away and buy a new one. So there's all kinds of warranties that get invalidated if you open things
yeah,
up, which I mean the law, they're trying to change the law on that, but that's really, yeah, it's bad. I'm getting red in the face even thinking about it.
yeah, yeah. I know it's really frustrating, and that is like a design element.
Yes,
It's planned obsolescence
that's
is
right. Yes.
where they're looking for they want products to be reused or uh, need you to buy new products within 2 years.
Yeah,
And that's actually designed in our modern technology, which is infuriating. So,
it is.
but there will be new laws that will target that. Hopefully, there's EU laws coming in where they're going to target planned obsolescence and make that hopefully illegal very soon.
Yes, that would be good. And then the final one I was
Yeah.
going to talk about was composting workshops. I don't have one coming up myself right now, but those are good things to go to learn how to deal with food waste and to make yourself beautiful
Yes.
compost for free rather than going and buying plastic bags full of peat or non-peat compost. You can actually make your own
Mm,
compost without having any plastic involved whatsoever. So
yeah.
that's something I would recommend people do. Um, so yeah, that's our experiences, not stuff. Recommendations, Evan, this is
Excellent.
on you. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Recommendations. This one is actually a really, really handy one because it is on everybody's phone. If you look up mywaste.ie, if you are unsure about what goes in what bin, any recycling questions that you have, the very top of their homepage, there is a search bar, and you can literally type in whatever product it is, and it will tell you whether it's recyclable or not. So it's a really, really handy one. If you're thinking, can I recycle crisp packets? You can just type in crisp packet and it will tell you. So I find that one easy. I still have to look at the odd thing and figure out which one is this going to go into. So um yeah, I think recycling is a minefield. So if you're looking for a little bit of help in it, mywaste.ie is a
It is.
really handy one to have.
That's your fingertips. You could just, I'll be using that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I
Yeah.
still have
I
lots
think
of
they have an
questions.
app as well.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
You could even take a
And there's
photograph and they
also
would
loads
tell you
of
from the photograph. That would be, if you don't type anything at all, just you put the photograph. But that's would be like this bit of AI and the
you
children
can
roaring
put
at
that in
them.
the suggestions box.
Indeed, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so and they've also got articles about reducing waste. They've lots of it's a really informative website. It's really, really good. I think they work hard on making it usable for people. So that would be it. Mywaste.ie.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And Evelyn, your whatever, your bin, does that be very small every week? Is there not much in it?
Yeah, it does depend on the week. I won't lie to you. So I definitely do my very best to keep as little to put as little in the bin as possible. There's three people living in my house, and we would probably fill the bin every 2 to 3 weeks, I would say. I would love if that was an awful lot less, but I do also buy a lot from the um what am I trying to say? The reduce section as well, but I suppose that's my recycling bin is kind of where those kind of things go.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah.
And things like
What about
cardboard.
you, Anna?
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, I guess because certainly from a food waste point of view, there's very little food goes anywhere near the bins because if the hens don't eat it, then the compost bin will take care of it. And things like
Hmm.
cardboard, I mean, I would use cardboard a lot in my no-dig gardening. So there's very little
Yeah.
cardboard going in. There's a fair bit of plastic because three people in the house and they have various different things that they like to eat. But
Hmm.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think from the size of our family, we're probably not too bad. But I do think
Yeah.
we could probably do better. So I will be thinking about that. But I suppose for cardboard, better that it goes in the compost bin than it goes into recycling. Because that's actually been used here
Oh
as
yeah.
opposed to going where it might end up in landfill. There's no way it's ending up in landfill if it's going
Yeah.
into the. So that kind of stuff, I suppose, and that can be a lot of the waste can be
Yeah.
paper or cardboard. So, yeah, that's all been captured here pretty much. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
mean, and then of course there's the smushing of the bin where you know, get and jump into it and push it down. So that can make a difference if you've got someone willing to do that. So
Mm.
someone with a good
Yeah,
weight.
exactly. We actually we bring our waste to local recycling centres rather than we don't actually have a bin collection here.
All right.
So it's once a month, fill the car and go to the recycling centre and everything gets
Right. But that
put
means
in
you're
its
very
right place.
aware of things as well. Like then it's yeah, you're not just sort of putting in a bin that goes away. You actually have to see.
You have to, yeah, exactly. You can see, okay, the basket that we put the soft plastic in, there's lots in it this month, and a lot of the time that's from the reduced section that we're buying from. But it does make you aware of what you're putting in because we have to keep that, the
Yeah.
space for it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Anna, tell
So
me what's in
finally,
season this week.
sorry, Evelyn.
Tell me what's in season.
Oh yes. Well, I mentioned tomatoes before, and they're still in season. They'll be in season for the next couple of months, and please enjoy them while you can. They're so tasty. I had my first one out of the tunnel last week, and it was absolutely delicious. And of
Yeah.
course, it's not really warm enough for them to be really coming on, so I'll have to wait a bit while for the next one. But fingers crossed, I'll have a few more. And but you can certainly buy. I mean, I go into the shop, I look to see which are the Irish tomatoes, and I only
Hmm.
buy the Irish ones because they're going to taste better, I think, and they're not coming from so far away.
Yeah.
The other things that are in season right now are raspberries are very much in season. I'm seeing my autumn fruiting raspberries ready. So the obviously with summer ones. So, if you're growing raspberries, you're growing black currants, growing red currants, they're all totally great now. Apples will be a little bit lot later. There was gooseberries. We had gooseberries in great quantities and we didn't pick them and we came back and the birds had got them all. So
Oh
that was
no.
sad.
Oh, no. So the birds
But
were delighted with you.
it seems like they were. They waited till they were ripe and they ate them all. So I think we have to be a bit more proactive next year with the picking of the gooseberries.
Hmm.
But yeah, so actually somebody gave me a great tip. You know the little veg bags we were talking about, the ones that you get, the reusable ones in in the shops for your
Yeah.
veg. You can
Yeah.
use those to keep the birds away from your berries.
Oh, okay.
So my friend is growing blueberries, and so she put like just on one of the branches. She there's some blueberries left for the birds, but the ones that she wants to keep in those bags. So you're not having to net the whole thing, which birds get trapped in. You're just
Yeah.
netting like a small amount, let them ripen in there, then come back and take off the bag, and you will have the ones that are for you.
Ah, that's a good tip. I love that. So you're still sharing with the
Yes,
the birds, but
but you're saving
you're
some
giving.
for yourself. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, lovely. That's really nice, Anna.
yeah. So I mean, there's probably a lot more in season. Potatoes are, of course, in season right now, and
Yeah.
delicious. Absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful right now. So get your hands on some Irish potatoes. And I suppose just to look in the supermarket to see where things are coming from and try to buy the things that are Irish.
Yeah. For sure. Support the Irish farmers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's few enough
Yeah.
of them doing it anymore. So it's yeah,
Yeah. It's
but
critical at this point that we do support them. So
the ones who are doing it still, yeah. So
for
that's it
sure.
for us, I think, for this week.
Yeah. That was a lovely chat, Anna. As
It's very good.
always.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So follow us on social media. We're Practically Green Podcast on Instagram. Um, we're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Leave us comments, rate us, do all the good things. Apple
Yeah.
Podcasts run as well. So, but leave us comments, give us feedback. We'd be delighted to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really appreciate all the support and the positive feedback so far. It's just been lovely having this little community with you, Anna. It's really, really nice.
Yes, it is very
Yeah,
nice.
thank you.
So we'll
All
say
right.
goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks so much for listening.